church, not even realizing that the truly great universities are the ones that are run by the Jesuit order.
Well, you know, many of the prestigious universities had some kind of church relationship in the early years. Yale and Princeton and Northwestern University, the University of Chicago, they all had a religious affiliation in their early years, and then eventually it became totally secular. And the Jesuit presidents of these Jesuit 28 universities are very intent on trying to keep that Jesuit Catholic identity. We don't want to become secular at all. And with the lessening and smaller amounts of Jesuit priests available for higher education, we're trying to concentrate on the lay faculty, Catholic lay faculty, Protestant, non-Christian faculty, and try to give them the spirit and the inspiration of what it means to have a Jesuit education. Helping sisters, nuns, especially with regard to orphanages and nursing homes. In fact, she helped found a hospital in Nairobi in Africa.
Oh, wow.
So she was very, very fond of elderly people. And so this is a nice painting of hers that was painted in 1957.
It looks like we have a nun on a bicycle here. Is that,
Right. Right.
Is that what's going on
That's
there?
right. And you
The whole issue of medical marijuana.
Well, I started to study marijuana in 1967 at a time when I thought that it was a terribly dangerous drug, like just about every other citizen in this country believed it was. I was amazed when I began to study it to discover that despite my training in science and medicine, I had been brainwashed like every other citizen. And I then went ahead and produced a book which was published by Harvard University Press in 1971. And to make a long story short, I concluded that marijuana, while it was not harmless, was so much less harmful than either alcohol or tobacco that it should not be prohibited. That in fact, the greatest harm from marijuana came not from any inherent psychopharmacological property of the drug, but rather from the way we as a society treated people who used the substance. That is to say, at that time we were arresting over 300,000 people every year, mostly young people. Visibly upset by my response, angrily told me that I was being impertinent and left the hearing room. That was the moment that I decided that the time had come. Later that week, Betsy and I went to a party in Cambridge where we knew that some guests would be smoking marijuana. Ever since a review of Marijuana Reconsidered had appeared on the front page of the New York Times book review under the banner, the best dope on pot so far, people had been offering us marijuana. And we had been politely and often a little apologetically declining it. Those guests who knew of our previously resolute abstemiousness were surprised when we decided to join them. We were cautious, as cannabis-naive people should be, as we inhaled our first totes ever. Such disparate uses as the magnification of pleasure in a host of activities ranging from dining to sex, the increased ability to hear music and see works of art, and the ways in which it appears to catalyze new ideas, insights, and creativity, to name a few. Furthermore, at its edges, which are fuzzy, there is some conflation with both medicine and recreation. Yet the preponderance of these uses falls into this broad and distinctive category that I call enhancement. This is the class of uses which is generally least understood or appreciated by non-cannabis users. It is
how tough he was. But what happened during the 8 years of Rudy Giuliani, he issued an order that every marijuana smoker, if it is possible, must be arrested, taken to jail. They were kept overnight at least one day, frequently 2 or 3 days. Now, frankly, mostly after that, they were released and the charges were dropped. But the damage had been done. For many of them, they had lost their jobs. They'd all been fingerprinted and sent to the feds as well as the state. They had a criminal record. And for many of them, they had hired lawyers and spent thousands of dollars. If you're a professional and you had to find yourself in jail for one day, you might be able to keep your job and pass that hurdle. But those were a lot of people who were wage earners. And if they don't show up for work the next morning, they're fired. So,
people just have to join, and not think about it so much and worry about it. People are a little paranoid, marijuana smokers, and understandably, that's why we're trying to change the laws. You don't have to be so paranoid. But until that happens, you really have to kind of deal with that paranoia and come a little bit closer to, out there to support. High Times is easy. You just buy a magazine, $5 every month. It's kind of easier than joining something, don't you think, Steve?
Right.
Just to buy a magazine, it's easier for us. You sell magazines $5 a month. It's a quick buy, But to join normal, you have to think about it and send it in an envelope. And
You have to have a checking account.
Whatever. It shouldn't be hard, but I'm just saying, we're evaluated differently, and we're at a different mercy of a different kind of market system of putting our magazine out on newsstands and magazines shops and record stores and head shops and all over the country.
It seems like it's
Asking for my autograph in Michigan. I mean, it's like you're asking for my autograph, but it's people out there are stoners, and they're said being a stoner is fun. It's not like you're a degenerate, but you're treated like such a pariah in the mainstream media that if a magazine comes out and says hey, we're a magazine for stoners, we're proud to be stoners, we like being stoners. People really celebrate that because they feel, somebody is speaking, to them in their voice when the rest of the country is cursing them out and castigating them and downgrading them and low-rating them and berating them. That,
Exactly.
We're speaking for them and for their cause.
University of Kentucky, is that not correct?
I'm the 10th president, and this is that's gives some indication of just how much of an honor this position is. The fact that there have been only 9 people that have come before me in this position puts all of us, I suppose, in some rare company. So this university presidency is something to be cherished, and I feel extremely honored to have been in this position for the last almost 11 and a half years.
I've heard of Kentucky as yourself. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know how to assess that, except that I feel very good about what we've accomplished in these last 11 plus years, and I'm convinced the University of Kentucky is a far better place than it was in 1990. We've made major strides, particularly academically, in this university. We've gotten better and better at getting excellent students to come to the University of Kentucky, and we've put a great premium on that. Exact percentages, but I can tell you that the job market is very good for the graduates of the University of Kentucky. We've got strong programs here, strong professional schools, as well as undergraduate and research programs. So whether it be engineering or whether it be medicine or dentistry or pharmacy or some of the other schools, the graduates of the University of Kentucky go out from here and do exceptionally well. And I think that that progress is simply continuing at a rapid pace.
Jet fighter pilot.
Right.
And so what was it like taking off of
Well,
aircraft
it's thrilling.
carriers?
It's hard to describe because the G-forces are tremendous on takeoff, on the launch itself, the steam catapult in about 200 feet. You go from 0 to 140 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour. So it's a tremendous acceleration force, and the same when you come into land. The wires that are stretched across the back of the deck, which stop you with the tail hook, is a pretty good force and puts some real strain on your shoulders from the shoulder strap.